You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Little pig, let us come in. You will all be familiar, of course, with the tale of the 3 little pigs and the big bad wolf. And if you'd like a humorous adaptation of that story involving narcissists and empaths, then you can watch the video 3 Little Empaths and also read about it in my excellent book, Narc Tales, Volumes 1 and 2. Both can be found in the Knowledge Vault as written books or as audiobooks as well, so you can listen to your glorious narrator's chocolatey velvety tones as you're educated in a humorous way about narcissism. But here, the big bad wolf is pushing to be included in something. Yes, they want to come in. According to the Sun newspaper, Harry and Harry's wife have issued new demands ahead of King Charles's coronation, according to reports. This, of course, is entirely typical behaviour of a narcissist and her captive. He, entrenched in the manipulations and his own emotional thinking, has now been so subsumed within all of that, he believes that whatever she says is right. It's the world according to Harry's wife, and he therefore goes along with it. Once upon a time, that may well have been the case that he was a little bit uncertain, but he realised that it wasn't a very good move if he objected to what she said, because he would, of course, get a firm kick to the old pink pods, or the old ginger bollocks would find themselves being tasered. He would find the pink pods suddenly becoming pink pancakes as a consequence of the application of some summary justice. And he quickly learned that the most appropriate thing for him to do would be to keep quiet and get on with it, and therefore he would avoid the mauling of those pink pods. However, as time has gone on, and that he's been repeatedly subjected to these manipulations, he's found himself going along with it and actually believing that what she says is appropriate and that he's in agreement. Hence why Harry repeatedly behaves like such a shit, notwithstanding the fact that at the core he isn't actually one. But he follows what she says, and therefore he behaves in a manner which is seen as just as bad as her. And as we know, when it comes to the coronation, the pair of them have been repeatedly pushing to be included in King Charles's coronation as a consequence of there being a possibility for chaos amid the demands that are being made. This is typical behaviour of a narcissist, of course. The event is about somebody else. It's the king's coronation. But naturally, Harry's wife needs to make it about her beforehand by making a song and dance about having certain things sorted out and arranged and organised beforehand. So it's a little bit like it's your birthday coming up and you've organised that for your birthday you're going to throw a party. And one of your guests wants assurances that there's going to be vegan sausage rolls beforehand, that they're going to ensure that they particular games. We have to ensure that there's pin the tail on the donkey and pass the parcel taking place. I'm not going to come unless you've put those things in place. Also, I want to ensure that the decoration on the day doesn't include pink. It all has to be red and white. Understand? Could you imagine your reaction if somebody told you those stipulations when it came to your birthday party? You'd basically tell them where to get off. But this is similar. Harry's wife, as a consequence of believing everything has to be about her, that she's the victim and therefore the royal family and the king ought to do what she wants, has no regard for how that impacts upon other people. She believes that everybody should do what she wants. She operates with that sense of entitlement. She has no sense of accountability for her behaviours. And accordingly, they're pushing to be included in the coronation and are issuing new demands, demonstrating her haughtiness as a consequence of her narcissism and his haughtiness as a consequence of the fact that he remains enmeshed by her. The article explains, Prince Harry and Harry's wife have issued new demands ahead of King Charles's coronation, according to reports. The Sussexes are asking for the inclusion of their children, Archie and Lilibert, or Murchie and Lilybucks, on the day, along with a place for the whole family on the Buckingham Palace balcony, a source told. OK. Sense of entitlement, issuing of demands, ordering people about. However, the source claimed that having Archie 3 and Lilibert 1 at the Westminster Abbey ceremony had never been a bone of contention because small children can't attend such events due to restlessness and tantrums. Now notice there that there is a fair and honest explanation. We're not excluding them because we don't like them. We're not excluding them because they're a pair of gingers. We're not including them because they don't exist. We're not including them because basically they're small children, and it's a lot to ask 2 small children to sit through a ceremony of this nature. And they'll be crying out, running around, badgering people, making a noise, and generally being a distraction. And therefore we can't have that. It's therefore a legitimate reason to exclude them. However, that won't wash with Harry's wife, because her narcissism doesn't hear the appropriate reason for them not being included. It simply hears this. This is a threat to control, because of course those children, existing or not, are an extension of her. And therefore the failure to include them is essentially, when viewed by her, as saying, you're not allowed to come either. And it's an affront to her, and thus is translated by her narcissism as a sense of threat to control. And therefore, she issues these demands like the big-bagged wolf trying to get in to the relevant house. The insider explained the palace are trying to wrap up negotiations as quickly as possible because they can't go right up to the wire. It could lead to chaos. It could very well be that it ends in stalemate and they won't attend. But the palace is doing everything in its power to not let that happen. However, what the Sussexes are pushing for is for them to be included with the rest of the family at the palace later that day. Now, bear in mind, of course, after their behaviour, such a brass neck to be included, but that's unsurprising of Harry's wife and Harry, as a consequence of being dragged along by her, that she, through her compartmentalisation, sees nothing wrong whatsoever in turning up at an event after the way that she's thrown shit at the royal family for months on end. Her sense of entitlement tells her, well, they're the ones that have been mean to you, it's the least that they can do to invite you along. The article also explains it's also Prince Archie's birthday on Coronation Day, so they would like some kind of nod to that at a lunch or drinks reception, even if it's just a happy birthday mention. Again, this is the necessity, of course, of stealing somebody's thunder by making it all about the extension of her, namely Archie. There would be scope, of course, for thinking, look, birthdays happen every year and coronations don't. They are a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. And what we could do is do something privately in the morning amongst ourselves and then do a family thing perhaps the day after. That way everybody's accommodated. But of course Harry's wife won't want to do that. The rigidity of her narcissism prevents her from doing so because it has to be about her. Her world is more important than anybody else. It puts me in mind of a situation where I advised somebody who told me that he had been invited to go to a football match by a client of his and to attend the corporate hospitality. He explained to his wife well in advance that he had been invited and it would be taking place on a Tuesday evening. His wife, who's a narcissist, response was, "But that's when I go and visit my grandma." He looked at her incredulously, thinking, and, well, don't go that week or go on a different day. And when he suggested that to her, she erupted, and he was at a loss. He said, was she seriously believing this when she said it? And he explained to me that her response was, cancel the game and go on a different date. I said, yes. Her narcissism was telling her that basically you and 40,000 other people who were all going to go and watch a football match should all decide, oh, it's okay because your wife wants to go and visit her grandma, so that's what can take place. She can go and do that and you all have to cancel the match. He was staggered. But that, of course, is the self-centeredness of the narcissist. the grandiosity, and also, of course, the sheer ridiculousness of certain narcissists that truly think, well, you should change a football match and 40,000 other people should be inconvenienced because it clashes with the night that I always go and see my grandma. It's similar with Harry's wife. Although she might not quite be as ridiculous as that, but I dare say she's had her moments, she believes that there should still be a birthday party held for Archie, notwithstanding that it's the king's coronation. She believes that should have precedence, because, of course, he is an extension of her, and this forms part of these negotiations. Of course, you've got knock-on-knock action. But the fact is that Harry's wife is wanting to come in, like the big bad wolf, because she's desperate to attend, but as always, it has to be on her terms, because the fact is that her narcissism dictates that that's the case. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.